The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
From Mallory Square in Key West to the Governor's Mansion in Tallahassee and all points beyond, you're listening to the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com, your source for all things related to the craft beer community in the Sunshine State. And now your host, Dave Butler.
It's episode 86 of the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com. This is Dave, your host and author, and we are still at Loft 305 above the hardware store at Playa Linda Brewing in Titusville. Got a couple more interviews from you from the Rocky Water Brew Fest. If you did not hear the first spate of interviews, recommend that you go back and listen to the previous episode. Had some great interviews with people in and around the Space Coast craft beer scene. And if you didn't know any of that was going on, then you need to follow us on social media. We're at Florida Beer Blog on Instagram and Twitter, FL Beer Blog on Facebook. We are also available at FloridaBeerPodcast.com, our sister site, FloridaBeerBlog.com. And of course, we are a proud member of the Florida Podcast Network, available at FloridaPodcastNetwork.com or on our special members only Facebook page, FPN Insiders. Just search for it on Facebook, and you'll be good to go. So we've got another slate of 5 interviews from the Rocky Water Brew Fest in Eau Gallie, which is part of Melbourne. And the first people that we're going to be speaking to are making non-alcoholic beers. Yes, Florida is getting a non-alcoholic only brewery in the city of Melbourne. They're called Leader Brewing. Been watching them on Instagram. They are currently building their facility, but obviously they are able to make beers elsewhere and bring them to events such as Rocky Water. So the voice you're going to be hearing is Max Green, co-owner and brewer. And we're going to be talking all about what it takes to break into the craft beer scene here in Florida with, I hate to use this term, but near beer. Let's be honest, it's beer. It just doesn't have any alcohol in it, but has all of the flavor and all of the artistry, and you'll be able to listen all about it coming right up. We're at a beer festival, and everybody's advertising ABV. Yeah. And then here at the end is Leader, and your ABV is 0. Has that been a hard sell?
Not really. There's a lot of people that are looking for something to take a break. Not necessarily everybody that's just trying to stay away from craft beer completely, but they like craft beer, but they don't always like the effects of the alcohol. So as some people are trying to go higher in ABV, some people, kind of want to be able to drink for the long term, or even, kind of the end of the day, you're about ready to go home, and instead of switching to soda or water, you can switch to a different type of craft beer and still enjoy the taste.
And I've noticed it's really starting to explode. It's not just the couple that you saw for a couple of decades. Now you go into beer and wine stores, and there's a significant number of varieties and a significant number of traditional styles. I'm looking at an interesting tap list that I can't wait to open up. Why do you think now is the time for people to really start getting into making non-alcoholic brew craft brew?
Well, you started to see it about 2-3 years ago, where a couple of NA-only craft breweries opened, Bravos and Athletic and Wellbeing, and the success that they had in kind of being able to really grow their business and really prove that there was a demand, because it seems like NA was always kind of next year before you saw the growth. Well, Athletic really kind of proved that there is significant growth with the amount of investment that they've got from private funds. And then the big guys come in. When Lagunitas and Sam Adams and Brooklyn Brewery all start putting out their own NA products, it's more than just a fad. And so I think you're going to see more of that demand for an NA. I don't know that all breweries are, necessarily ready to put one of their tap handles on there, but I know all the breweries are getting asked if they have an NA option. So, similar to what you saw with seltzers and ciders and how some breweries are bringing that into their tap, you'll probably see the same type of activity with NA of either bringing it in from another brewery or, trying to make it themselves.
And obviously, without getting too much into the weeds and without divulging any secrets that you don't want to divulge, how is the brewing process different from making the amber ale that I've got my hand on the sign right now, than making an amber ale, which I know some other people have, but it has alcohol.
So there's two general ways you make NA. You either brew it normally and then take the alcohol out, or you try to prevent the alcohol from getting there in the first place. The first method is really expensive in that you got to get a lot of other extra equipment. In many cases, the stuff that costs as much or more than a brew house itself, so it's really kind of cost prohibitive. But on the second side, there's a whole bunch of different methods of trying to take the alcohol out, or not allowing the alcohol to get there in the first place. And you can do it through recipe formulation. You change the process. You're trying to limit the amount of fermentable sugars in there, special types of yeast that only eat certain types of sugars but not others. And so when you kind of balance all those and play with water chemistry, pH, and everything else, you can get the beer to have the types of flavors you want but not produce as much of the alcohol that gets it above 0.5%.
Interesting. And obviously, you are not open yet, but it's kind of been awesome watching the growth of your facility on Instagram and whatnot. But you have been hitting the festival circuit quite a bit. Obviously, this festival is not open yet so we can't, determine the end. But with the other ones that you've come to, once people get over the, no alcohol, what has been the reception?
It's a lot of, wow, I didn't realize it was going to be this good. I think they've had a lot of, they're used to O'Douls and Sharps, and so they're used to just not tasting right. And so as they've tried our beers, they go, wow, that's really good. And in some cases, then I wouldn't have even known that was non-alcoholic. So, obviously that's what we're shooting for. You can't necessarily replicate the alcohol bite on the back end, particularly for some bigger styles. But for a lot of the traditional styles that are out there, you can get almost all of the flavor profiles that you want to make it as near to a real beer as possible. So maybe it really is near beer now, as it was coined so long ago.
I have not heard that phrase in a very long time, and I was kind of happy that it died. So I guess it's a little bit farther back. When you open up, are you looking to have a large amount of taps, or are you looking more for small amount that is distributed? What is that sort of vision for that initial year of operation?
Well, so we kind of went into this looking as primarily a production facility that was going to be able to ship nationwide. So we're going to be able to put things in cans and do online sales.
I was going to say,
to kind of get that volume.
You can ship.
We can ship.
There's no alcohol.
That's kind of the way the business model is set up. And so by doing that, we're going to focus on some core beers initially, while at the same time continuing to kind of innovate with different styles. And what we want to do, it's more kind of like a 90s, early 2000s microbrew concept, where it's production brewery. Will have tap room hours, if you will, tasting hours on Fridays and Saturdays to kind of showcase the normal ones, allow for package sales out the door, but also be able to kind of showcase some experimental beers that we're doing. And then as we continue to grow it, bring more styles and kind of get a broader distribution that way as well.
Is there any style that you're looking forward to making as a non-alcoholic that you can't do just yet? You got to get the waters tested and got to get everybody ready.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with what we're got. We're going to roll out with a pale ale, an amber, and a stout. So I think we've got kind of the hoppy, the malty, and the roasty, covered a little bit. But I'm really looking forward to kind of trying to tackle a traditional West Coast double IPA, a smoked porter, kind of the types of styles that I used to really love when I started getting into home brewing, almost 20 years ago.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
On the last episode, you heard from one of Sanford's hottest breweries, Deviant Wolf. But obviously, Sanford Brewing is another one of them. It's kind of difficult to forget where Sanford Brewing is located since it's just part of the name. And so we spoke to co-owner Bo Hallowes about the stress and the expectations from having the city name in the name of his brewery, bringing food into the facility, and more. Enjoy. I'll tell you one thing that I've noticed about Sanford. The beer scene is really starting to get some attention.
In Sanford, yes, absolutely. So as of now, with Dees Brothers Brewery coming in just the last few months, we now have 4 breweries in downtown historical Sanford, about to have a 5th brewery. So it's really becoming a scene there, a good craft beer scene. I think we were trying to model ourselves a little bit along the lines of what Asheville's doing, trying to make it a destination spot. So one of the things we notice at our brewery is, on the weekends especially, we have a great following with people that live in and around Sanford, but in particular on the weekends, we have a lot of people coming from Orlando, Kissimmee, Tampa, Clearwater, all over the place, So,
And I guess you just wouldn't think that from Sanford. Boy,
well,
interesting.
Maybe not, but I think there was some purpose and intention with, as breweries started to get developed there in Sanford, starting with Wops Hops, and then we were the second one to come in. And so I think that there was an intention not only with the local breweries, but also the city to make it more of a place that, like I said, a destination spot where people would come in and spend the day, come in and park, walk around. You can walk to every area, and there's a whole bunch to do in Sanford, along with just the breweries. I mean, there's a great distillery there, Celery City, the brew pub. Obviously, Hollerbox is a staple there, the German restaurant, some other great boutique restaurants, and just some really interesting shops and places in town. So
awesome. Do you still have to tell people, yes, this is Sanford? Yes, you can actually do these things here.
Maybe a little bit, but I think more and more people, are starting to know what Sanford's about. The recognition is starting to come about, and people are even further away. People are starting to recognize what's going on in Sanford.
Gotcha. And is there an added stress or focus on you, since you did take the name of the city to sort of be
kind of represent,
be the representative, be the litmus test, be the benchmark? I think
we just, we spent a good deal of time trying to figure out what we wanted to call ourselves, and we love Sanford, and we thought, what better than to just call ourselves the name of the city, and I think we represent well, but I think all the breweries in town represent well. I think we're definitely a community, and we all just kind of add and to each other's success.
Which is kind of amazing. Do you think that there's enough room for growth for additional breweries once the fifth one opens up? Is this something to where you could have? I
do. I think there is always more opportunities, and I do think there is always room for growth in the city.
So let's talk about what you brought today. Obviously, you've got a couple taps with you. You've got the name. Then there's enough people that are coming to this event to where you're only, an hour and a half? Or
so from Melbourne, we're only about an hour and a half away, so not too far away. So, yeah, and absolutely, we've got a literature here and enough stuff to talk about with. And by the way, we are at this point kind of marketing in this area. We're on with a distribution company out here. So there are restaurants and bars in the area that already are carrying our beer. So we're starting to get a name for ourselves out here. But, there's always room for growth. And but yeah, we're not too far away from here where someone could come in for a day. And also, just to note, with Sanford Brewing Company, we're a full restaurant as well. So it's not like just coming in and getting beer. I mean, we have an excellent food menu and some excellent food. And so you can come in and get a meal. And
that's starting to become really the focus of new breweries, is not just to be a brewery, but to have something that'll keep people there and keep people refreshed while they're drinking the beers.
So we, from the get-go, when we were planning our brewery, we talked about what we wanted to be. And we are a brewery, first and foremost, but we are about an experience. So we want people to come in, have a good time. We create a very warm, friendly, inviting atmosphere. We have fantastic food. We are constantly doing events at our place. We have live music every weekend. We do trivia on Tuesday nights. So we have different activities going on throughout the week and on the weekends to bring people in and to keep them there, where they're not just coming in, having a beer, and then moving on to the next place. They can come in and kind of have a whole experience.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
And I guess it seems like Sanford is kind of the place to have these awesome experiences. So it's been awesome to see and kind of watch the growth, even as the city sort of takes a hold of this. Has the city of Sanford, the municipality, been very welcoming and supportive of this beer scene that has just sort of grown up in their backyard?
Absolutely. I mean, I think at first when, Greg with Wops Hops and ourselves were coming along, there was a little bit of not knowing what to expect with breweries, but I think as we are growing, the city's recognizing that it's a vital part of the industry and the city there, and introducing other people to the city, and the fact that they may be coming into a brewery, but then they experience the other things that the city has to offer.
Awesome.
So I think it's, kind of like one hand washes the other. And I think that, we have a great partnership with the city, and we're excited to be there. And I think they like having us there.
Perfect. So. It's been a great time, great interview. And I'm going to end it with a really stupid question.
Okay.
Since Sanford is known as Celery City,
yes.
Have you put celery in a beer yet?
Actually, it's funny that you asked that. We did. One of our first beers we made was a pale ale that we use celery seed in the brew. And we called it Celery City.
Awesome.
Celery City Pale Ale. And for a while, we were making it and mixing it with a Bloody Mary mix and offering. We were calling it Proud Mary.
Okay.
So it was quite popular for a while. So
that one definitely has to come back. I'm intrigued. Thank you for your time, Bo. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you're going to Cocoa Village, there are a couple of craft beer options, which is awesome. Obviously, one of those options is Bug Nutty, which you heard on the previous episode, and another option is Dirty Oar. And I was able to speak to Chris Hughes, co-owner and brewer, about the beers, about how the recent uptick in travel, especially cruise travel, is starting to help them, and a heck of a lot more while drinking some of the best beers that I have had in the Space Coast. So this is a Pilsner with Tang.
Yep, Pilsner with Tang.
Actual Tang.
Yeah, so called it Wu-Tang. Did it with Equilibrium, so they share our passion for music. So it's Pilsner, and we treated it exactly like you would Tang with water. And so same exact measurements and all that stuff.
So yeah, how you doing?
Not bad. It's 12:30 in the morning, so.
Oh, that's amazing. That's literally a Pilsner with Tang in it. So, how has 3 Cents been treating you?
It's awesome. I love it. We make a lot of fun, interesting beers and goof off, but still make a Pilsner and an Amber as our cores.
And that's kind of amazing, because with your new brewmaster, Corey, with your new brewmaster, Corey, he definitely made the name for himself for the big dessert beers. And I know that you have a couple of these sneaking around today. It's got to be very different to go to a brewery that is, my gosh, world-renowned and sort of world-hyped. How difficult a paradigm shift was that?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when it comes to people drinking our stouts and trading for them and the hype we receive at different fests. It's definitely a different experience.
There was one that I tried, I think the collaboration with Bottle Logic.
Yep. Summation
and it sold out in 15 seconds. It's like, that is insane.
Yeah, we use Oznar for all our bottle releases, so people go on the app and it's pretty much as quickly as you can press it. We'll sell out bottles like 23 seconds, 19 seconds. It's nuts.
That's amazing. But you still have a Pilsner, and you still have the solid cores.
Yeah,
that
our
everybody
number
else
one
seems to
beers,
have.
Ocean Park Pils.
I don't believe you.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. Knowing what Corey brews, I don't believe you.
Yeah, so the brewery has full kitchen, pizza, wings, all that stuff. So people want a Pilsner. We bought the slow pour side pull faucet, so now we're doing slow pours on the Pils too, and we sell just a bunch of them also.
Now, you and I are a long way from home. Is 3 Sons even in this area?
A little bit. We distribute through Progressive throughout the state.
Okay.
So if anyone wants us, they can buy it. We're not up here a lot, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that a difficult sell when you come here? Are you really pushing the Pilsner that people can see, or are you trying to push the other beers, the hypey beers, in an effort to hopefully bring people down to visit Dania Beach?
Yeah, I think it's just since we don't do a lot of beer fest up here or do sales calls up here, it's more to get people to know us that may not be familiar with the big giant stouts and online bottle sales. The Pilsner, honestly, is usually for all the brewers. Like, we're bringing it to fests that we all drink. But everyone comes to a beer fest and you'll say, what's your lightest beer? And it's good to have the Pils or the grapefruit wit there.
See, and it's funny, so many people that I've spoken to have said exactly the opposite. They'll come in, what's your heaviest beer?
Oh, yeah, you get that too.
But so this really is, especially for a brewery that is 3+ hours away, because you are right next to Fort Lauderdale International Airport, and we are across the river from Kennedy Space Center. This is really about getting the word out about the core beers that they can find in here. And if the other stuff is there, it sort of helps add to the mystique. Correct?
Yeah, it's also a good cause, and I love the Intracoastal guys. I've been coming to this fest since the first year, so
Really?
yeah. When John called and he's like, "You want to come?" It's like, "Of course."
I've heard a lot of great things about this beer festival. A lot of great things. And it's interesting because there's a number of beer festivals that you and I have been to that have clearly been cash grabs for the organizers. And I hear that this is exactly the opposite.
Yeah, the fests that are run by the brewers are like my favorite to go to because they know how to like treat everyone right. And yeah, it's not just a cash grab. This and Field of Beers are like my two of my favorite Florida
Nice
beer fests to do.
Your wife is describing Field of Beers.
That's the night before Jupiter Beer Fest.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like the food pairing, beer pairing. Everyone just brings one beer, and you're in the stadium walking around. And
that's got to be...
and Fran runs it. So again,
Fran is amazing. Yeah. I love Fran. Fran's taller than me, and I kind of can't process that because I'm used to being the tallest one in the room. So, but especially with Jupiter Beer Fest, especially with a lot of these other beer festivals, I remember other brewers sort of complaining about the number of invitations that they get, because a lot of the time they just get invitations left and right and donate, but it doesn't do anything. Are you and Three Sons at the point to where you can be picky and say, no, yes, what is this for? And if it's not
we
something
don't
good.
really do we don't do a whole lot of beer fests that are not like brewery related beer fests. So this weekend we're at a couple. I'm here, and then the rest of us are up in New York for Pastry Town, and that's run by Other Half.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, we do kind of like the brewer invitational ones. We like those the best because it's run by brewers and it's supporting each other, and everyone's there hanging out, talking.
That's amazing. Well, I will let you get back to it. I'm probably going to ask for another refill of the Wu-Tang.
Yeah, of course.
Because I probably just can't grab cans, unfortunately. I will see you around. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Our last couple of breweries are actually kind of funny since they are from South Florida, way down in Palm Beach County for one of them. And the next one is just south of Fort Lauderdale International Airport. That is, of course, Three Sons. Traveled even farther than I did for this beer festival. Their new head of operations is Dustin Jeffers. He is no stranger to the Florida Beer Podcast. Hopefully you've heard him when we talk about other breweries, but he is now with Three Sons. He was slinging quite a few amazing beers while on his honeymoon weekend. So we're going to chat with him, not just about the beers and the name that Three Sons has for itself in the craft beer scene globally at this point, but also what you need to do to bring beers to an event that is 3+ hours away from your brewery. I'm going to be the dork right now, and the fact that I love the fact that your logo is a mash paddle.
Yes, kind of the cheeky part about it. It's a play off of mash paddle.
I was going to say, do a whole lot of people get that, or do you not?
We always get, how'd you come up with the name? And really the short answer is it's easy to spell and it's hard to forget.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. And so you're in Cocoa Village.
We are.
Which is a gorgeous little area, but it does tend to be, I guess, a little bit touristy.
Not really. Our bread and butter is a lot of locals.
I was going to ask that question. How much local love do you get?
Most of it. I mean, we get people in from Orlando, or now the cruise ships are going again. We get people in from that, and just people on vacation in general. But yeah, what keeps us alive, especially in the summer, is our regulars.
That makes perfect sense. But that was a good question because you are so close to Port Canaveral, and I know that some other areas like Port Everglades, for example, they tend to try and get as much beer tourism as they can. Did you in the past, and will you in the future start seeing a lot of that beer tourism grow? And generally speaking, are there people that already know craft beer when they come down, or are they just people searching something new?
Mostly it's people that already know craft beer. Every now and again we'll just get somebody in that sees the sign or thinks the name is funny and, kind of wants to come in and try something new. But for the vast majority of people are, beer geeks that really just are trying us for the first time, or hopefully coming back to to try us again. We have 22 taps, so you can't really try them all in one sitting.
No, definitely not without some sort of medical issue. Yep. But I've definitely noticed that, especially with the beers that you have at today's event, they're not standards. They're not the Pilsner, here's the Stout. It's, you're kind of going for it. Is that what you try to do at Dirty, or?
Yes, it keeps it from being a job for me. Because I get to express myself. We do have a basic Pilsner. We do, I do a red lager every now and again, a standard porter. But the fun for me is trying something that I've never done before and making it work,
How difficult was it to educate your locals on the beers that you're making? Was it an easy jump, or did they need a little bit of hand-holding?
It wasn't too bad. I mean, we're there all the time. So if you come in the tap room, you're bound to see one of us. And, it's just talking to people. They might be a little apprehensive or not understand it, but beer's it's pretty easy to understand if you have somebody explain it to you in layman's terms, because there's a lot going on, but a beer's a pretty simple beverage overall. So you just say, oh, yeah, I use, it's called milkshake because there's lactose and vanilla in it. No, we don't actually dump milkshakes in there. But, just the terminology. Once you kind of break down that barrier and give people that information, I mean, they're well equipped to go somewhere else and not be scared of trying a new beer. So we always try to do that, sit down and explain what needs explaining.
Yeah. And with Brevard County, it seems to me that you're not necessarily part of Central Florida, that beer scene. Brevard is kind of becoming its own. Between Cocoa, you've got Melbourne, maybe if you bring in Sebastian, which sort of straddles the line between the Treasure Coast and the Space Coast.
Yeah, I think we are considered Central Florida still. I mean, we only have, 9 breweries in the county? So, it is pretty limited where, and we don't have a huge metropolitan area. Like Melbourne's a city, but it's not a city like Orlando's a city. So it just kind of is what it is, due to our demographics. But I think we're doing pretty well. And a lot of our breweries show very well at beer festivals and competitions. Intro wins a lot of awards. We were fortunate enough to win Top Brewer the last year they did it. So, even though we're not in a big city, we're still doing good work.
I was going to say, do a lot of the locals tend to just want to stay here and take advantage of what they have, or will they drive because, we've got good stuff, but they've got great stuff over there?
Yeah, Brevard people are kind of homebodies. Like, the local joke is how many bridges away is something. Because, we have the rivers and everything. So to get even from our place to Cocoa Beach, it's 2 bridges. And that's a bridge too far for some people. So I really do think that the Brevard market kind of stays put. But we do get a lot of people in from Orlando that, do that circuit and then just want to try something new. We have a pretty decent reputation in the beer community. And we've made a lot of friends doing events like this and others, even in the Central Florida associated ones. So it's really kind of cool that they'll, one person told me, which I thought was the highest praise a while back, they said, you don't know how many breweries I drove by to come and drink your beer.
That's awesome.
And I was like, man, that's like the nicest thing anybody's ever said.
That's high praise.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Are there any beers that you've tried that just Cocoa wasn't ready for? It's just not quite the time and the place. I would say you've got a lot of really interesting stuff. I'm enjoying the heck out of this pumpkin pie milkshake wheat ale, which,
thank you.
I mean, if you have to sit there and describe it and it takes such a long time, there's a lot going on with the beer.
Yeah, but it's a simple beer. It's light in color. It's not too sweet. It's not too spicy. My vision for that really was every pumpkin beer I've had has been amber or darker. And there's still like that light and beer connotation, light and dark beer connotation. So that pours, pale. So it's approachable. Like, it doesn't look big and dark and scary and chewy. And it's pretty balanced. So like it's sessionable. So you could have 2 of them without getting worn out on it. Yeah, but really, so we do take a lot of risks, and sometimes it doesn't work out. But everything does sell because we have our faithful that only drink the lighter beers or the IPAs. Okay. But we still get the beer geeks in that really want something off the wall and something new. So everything sells. Some faster than others, but everything does sell.
And then, of course, you have an event like this because obviously you've got the creme de la creme of the local beer scene. It's not just brewery reps. It's not just macro beers. These are the brewery owners. These are the brewers themselves that are coming out here. Is that having a little added stress? It's like, they're coming. I got to do something really good to impress them.
It's not a competition. Like, we're a community. A rising tide raises all boats, and we're all in this together. And the success of this event trickles out. Those ripples hit all of us because somebody comes in that is a patron and might not have had our beer, might not have had, Intra's beer or something like that. They might be in from out of town, but it's great because it opens their eyes to what can be. You get a lot of variety and it's free and it's only a little sample. So you're kind of more conducive to try something you wouldn't normally try. Yeah. And that really brings people, into the more interesting beers, even if they are just a light beer drinker, because it's built into the cost.
Awesome. Is the cocoa beer scene at Build Out, are you pretty much where you are and need a little bit of growth in the community to do more? Or is there a need and a want and a drive to bring more craft beer into Cocoa and Brevard County?
Actually, I really think we're not saturated. I really think Cocoa Village could support, because Bug Nutty's there as well, so that we do have two. I think we could support 2 more breweries because we're
just within Cocoa
Village. I really think we could. It's a walking town, and I think there's enough people locally that could support it, and we'd bring in a lot more outside traffic too. We'd get a lot more tourist traffic, and especially now with the cruise ships going off, they do excursions to the village. Like, you can pay for it on the boat, they'll put you on a bus and take you right into the village and get people walking around and trying out the local brews.
And how's the municipality been? Has Cocoa Village been
great? Yeah, I mean, getting permits approved is uphill, but I mean, it is a great place to be open for business. Getting open takes a minute, but being open is fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Our last interview, next door to them in the same beer tent, but just north of them when it comes to Interstate 95, is NOBO Brewing. I've actually seen them for many years, had a couple of name changes, but since rebranding as NOBO, they've been exploding in the Palm Beach County beer scene, so much so that they're expanding to not only a bigger place where they are currently, also a brand new location in Lake Park. So we spoke with Tim Dornblaser, co-owner and brewer, about all the fun things that are coming to NOBO Brewing and everything that we can expect to see from them. And I'll tell you what's funny about it is I have been wandering around for the past hour and a half without a wristband or anything. And I finally just got it because I just needed a cup. Wasn't that I needed a wristband, I needed a cup.
Of course. How can you have all this great beer if you don't have a cup?
I know, exactly. So I will start off ignoring everything that you brought here today and asking how Lake Park is going.
It's project's way behind, to 2020.
COVID.
Yeah, exactly. 2020. Okay, cheers to that. 2020 took a big hit to the project, so it's way behind, and the project had a few other issues, and they're just restarting construction in the next few weeks on the building, so it's got a long way to go.
But why Lake Park? Because it's kind of interesting. It was, not the greatest place, and now not only has it seen this revitalization, but it's also, craft beer. In fact, I was just at Coastal Karma yesterday recording for the Florida Beer Podcast.
Yeah, well, I guess we looked at it and felt that Lake Park had the look and feel that Atlantic Ave and Del Rey did 30 years ago.
Okay,
so we kind of felt like we can
see that.
We kind of looked at it and said, I think there's a future here, and heard some of the things the town was doing and believed in what they were selling, I guess I should say, and looked at it and thought it could grow into something.
Now, is it going to be right on that avenue?
Yes.
Sort of between Brewhouse Gallery / Kelsey
Correct.
City?
It's actually at the opposite end of the same strip that Brewhouse Gallery is in, and Kelsey City Brewing.
So you could literally, if you were a major league ball player, major league pitcher, you could stand at Coastal Karma and hit the building.
We're shooting for a rooftop bar there as well, a third floor rooftop bar. So hopefully, should everything come to fruition, it should be a pretty cool spot.
It's kind of amazing. But even then, we're still a good 2 hours away being here in Eau Gallie. Why did you decide to come to Rocky Water?
We've heard about this beer fest for a number of years, and always heard it was a great time and a great event. So when we got the invite, we felt, let's go. And on top of it, we signed a statewide distribution agreement early last year, and our distributor has now taken us pretty much from the I-4 corridor down to Key West, and we'll be expanding across the rest of the state soon. So,
Are you ready for that?
I don't know if you can be. I don't know. We can say we're ready, but, we'll see.
Well, I was going to say, are you expanding? Because I love your tap room, but
we're actually tripling the size of our Boynton Beach location.
Beautiful.
So yeah, that's already under construction, and we had actually hoped to have that open 2 months ago, but we're dealing with permitting issues there. So hopefully by the end of the year we'll see that location significantly larger than it currently is.
And I was going to say it's good that you're growing because the Boynton Beach craft beer scene is about to suffer a significant loss.
It is, and I'm hopeful that somebody will step in, and then I'm hoping that won't happen because I don't think that's good for the Boynton brewery scene.
Gotcha. But obviously we are here in Brevard. And what did we bring with us, and kind of why did we bring with us? Because I'm interested to see, this is a different kind of event. It's a brewer's event.
It is. We brought some of our core beers. We brought our Jalapeno Honey Blonde, which is always a big hit amongst the crowds, and something different that I don't believe anybody else really makes.
You're correct. I don't really know of any others.
Yep. We brought our old school Hefeweizen, which is one of my personal favorites. We also brought our What's My Haze again? Hazy Double IPA.
Beautiful.
Figured we had to bring an IPA in there. We also brought a triple berry smoothie sour. Everybody knows the hazy fruity sours are the in thing right now.
Oh my gosh.
And then we also brought, as a limited release, we also brought our second breakfast barrel-aged Imperial Stout coming in at 16%. So
is that open yet?
It not until 2:30.
Not until 2:30.
Yep.
I'll come in the back.
Certainly.
I'll get that first.
Yep. And last beer that we brought was we brought our Pilsner. So our Facebook jail Pilsner.
Did you get in Facebook jail? Is that what you named
not
it?
Yet, but on a personal level,
it happens. Do you have to kind of bring the big guns when you come to an event like this? Because these are the brewers. This
Correct.
is not reps.
That's some of the reason we brought the double IPA, we brought the barrel-aged Imperial Stout, and we brought the smoothie sour.
Okay,
so
that makes perfect sense.
We want to show off to the other brewers.
And then obviously the other brewers are one thing, but the people coming in, they are going to come in. Do you get a lot, or are you hoping for a lot of people to see NOBO? Obviously, you're right next to Three Sons, and hopefully translate that into a trip south.
I would love to see them make a trip south, and if they don't make a trip south, since starting distribution up in this area, at least check us out. I hope they ask their local watering hole to get us on tap and bring us in and drink our beer up here.
That's kind of amazing. I can't wait to drink your beer right here. I'm going to do that right now. I kind of need that triple berry sour. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hello, this is producer Jemmy, founder of the Florida Podcast Network, here to thank our partner, Mainline Marketing. Great equipment can make the difference between an ordinary podcasting experience and one that is immersive and inspiring. The sound quality produced with the Shure MV7 podcasting microphone is simply far superior to other options on the market. The voice isolation technology will help you sound great, even when you're not in an expensive studio. But not only is the sound quality simply unreal, but the Shure MV7 podcasting mic is very easy to use with 2 output options. So whether your show format and setup call for you to plug your microphone into the USB port right on your computer or to use it with an XLR cable into your mixer, you'll find the setup is easy. The Shure MV7 sound quality is top-notch, and it's easy to use, versatile, and also looks really great for your social media shots. So thank you again to Mainline Marketing. Having won over 40 various achievement awards, Mainline Marketing has been the go-to audiovisual manufacturers industry rep since 1987. They can be trusted to bring you the best. Visit mainlinemarketing.com today and partner with them. And be sure once again to check out the MV7 podcasting microphone from Shure by going to shure.com. That's SHURE.com. Shure, turning a passion for making great microphones into an obsession.
And that is it for our coverage of the Rocky Water Brew Fest and for this episode of the Florida Beer Podcast powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com. On our next episode, we are finally going to sit down with the brewmaster of Playa Brewing. It's Ron Reiki. I'm looking forward to that since I've been staying above his brewery for the past couple of days. So we've got a lot to chat about. They're just getting over their 7-year anniversary, so there's definitely a lot of history that I'm going to enjoy going through. In the meantime, make sure to follow us, like us, and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everybody that you can. Get the word out, because not only does it help support the podcast, but it also helps support great craft beer here in the state of Florida. Thank you so much for listening. This is Dave, your host and author. We'll see you next week and drink Florida Craft.